with its juveniles, then you know you're really getting somewhere.
Yeah. So anyway, what other topics? Did you have anything else to discuss? Or should we discuss the bowling for Columbine? Or should we wait on that?
I still think that you should shove this fan up your ass.
Mm-hmm.
No,
that fan? Well, at least it's phallic.
I was just trying to
unlike most fans.
go with the same topic that Joe would probably pick out.
Yeah, that's probably all right.
And so we got that out of the way.
No, let's do a fuck you. You want to say fuck you to anybody?
Well, I don't know. I guess it could be a lot of people.
Sure, go ahead. Who's at the top of the list?
God? No.
Well, yeah, we've already...
I was thinking that we were gonna. At first we were gonna buy this Bob the Builder pinata, and then we were gonna beat the shit out of it.
Yeah, but we found out that pinatas have to be filled with candy. You know, that's just too much effort. They don't come pre-filled with candy, so.
Because we had this idea that Bob the Builder is like a symbol of environmental destruction, and
yeah,
maybe we could have that as kind of like a theme.
But he could be a symbol of blue collar, though, blue collar guy, which we would we'd want to support blue collar guy. I mean, he could just be at home working on, you know, well, I guess he would have to use wood, probably, whatever he does, yeah. Bob the Builder's popping wood. No, I'm just kidding. So, okay, let's get into something.
Oh, and I was gonna remind, I was gonna tell Joe about if he knows about the Parkinson's disease that he's gonna have in about 30 years.
Oh well, but go ahead and fire away.
You already know about this one. Maybe you already told him.
I think I mentioned it to him, and I'm sure he's gonna say it's bullshit.
Yeah,
but go ahead.
That's probably pointless anyway.
Yeah, we won't get into that.
I was thinking. I was talking about mountains in Colorado, and there's this trip that I took with my dad out there. Since I'm laid off, he takes these business trips out there, and I go out there with him, and I was just it's like a cheap vacation because I think I only spent $30 to go out there with him, but I went out there because I thought he was gonna, go see these mountains because I hadn't really seen a real mountain in my life. So it's like the theme of the show so far is mountains.
Seeing mountains.
So I thought he was gonna drive through these mountains or something like that, and I come to find out, since he's got high blood pressure or whatever his health problem is, he can't really get up into the higher elevations.
Oh, that's weird.
So because of the lack of oxygen.
Huh.
And so I take the trip all the way out there with him, and I take this trip out there with him and drive. It takes us like 3 days to get there because we go through Oklahoma because he has to stop at some other place on the way there. And so I try to take this trip out there with him for 3 days and come to find out he's not even going to drive through them. And then it's so foggy that I can't see them anyway unless I got to where it was with like 2 miles of them. And
weird.
So then we went to this park that's called Garden of the Gods.
Mm-hmm.
And I went. At first, my idea was like after 3 days of this, I'm like pretty bummed out not just because I was laid off, but just because it was kind of wanting to get away from riding around with him, and so I told him I wanted to walk around these nature trails that are in this park, because if you've never been there before, it's like Garden of the Gods is this place where you have all these really weird rock formations, and some of them are like 300 foot high, and
it's like close to Pikes Peak or something.
Yeah, it's about 5 or 6 miles from Pikes Peak. Okay. And my plan was I was going to get out and start walking around these trails, and I wasn't going to really give him any clue which parking lot I was going to meet him at. Mm-hmm. Because I thought maybe he might get lost trying to find me, but I didn't really care at this point anyway. And anyway, while I was walking around on these trails, I was walking around on it for only like an hour or two, but for whatever reason, the fog between me and Pikes Peak started blowing away. And while I was walking around these trails, I could see the peak of the mountain. Only when I was walking around on the trails. And even my dad noticed that the fog kind of went away while I was walking around. And then when I was done with whatever with the trail I was on, I just picked one of the trails and I started walking along the trails. When I was done with the trail, then he just drove up right next to me and right into the parking lot that was right in front of me. And he didn't even know I was standing there until I walked up to him. Because anyway, so here I tried to get lost, and I thought I was never going to see the mountain, and then both of those things, changed while I was walking along this trail. So that's like the interesting thing that happened on that trip, which isn't really funny or anything. It just sounds like well, I told me the same story to my wife, and she said it was some kind of spiritual experience or some kind of epiphany, if that's the word.
That, like, you can't escape your father or something?
Well, no, just that the fog blew away when I was.
The fog parted.
I never thought I was going to be able to see this mountain at all. Here I'm taking this 1 week trip to go all the way out there, and then the fog parted. Yeah.
And you saw the mountain.
So that's like the whole story about Colorado that I don't think I told you about yet.
No, that's pretty cool.
But if you see, he only had so much time to get out there and come back. So I thought he was going to spend a day or two out there to do all these touristy things, and so it turns out we only going to spend these few hours when we were at this park. But
well, that's something.
anyway, so that's like the exciting thing that's happened to me so far since I've been laid off. And you kids out there,
what do you want to say to the kids?
what I want to say to the kids about preparing for a situation like what I'm in, you mean?
Oh, right, yeah, you were going to get like a, kind of like one of those Matt
yeah.
Foley speeches, or what was that guy's name? That
Max Foley speeches?
Matt Foley.
I don't know if I could actually pull that off.
You kids, it's all about presents.
You're never going to amount to jack squat.
Yeah, right, that's it. You're going to be living in a van down by the river.
Well, here's how you don't live in a van down by the river. You wait until you're like almost 40, like me, to buy a house. And, yeah, like I look like I'm a
Smoke a bunch of crack.
See, I'm talking about how I've been laid off here, but I've actually been working full-time constantly for 12 and a half years, and this is basically the only break that I've had.
Yeah, well, hey.
Since then. Because I was laid off once before, but then it's just lucky that I found a job like the next day after I was laid off or something. But had no break there at all.
Yeah, so it's like a vacation.
But so since I've been working all that amount of time, I'm fondling your fan here. Get it ready. Since I've had all this work that I've been able to save some amount of money. So I've like followed this rule that hey, if you kids want to know how to be financially secure, then you hit that record button right now. Because this is how you do it. There's just a few things that I've heard in my life that this is why you never want to buy a house right away, is because one time some old relative of mine told me that before you buy a house, you actually have to have whatever the price of the house is. Even if it's $250,000, you got to have most of that in a bank somewhere, waiting for if you get laid off or if you have some other kind of emergency coming up while you're trying to pay for this house. Because chances are, if you got a 20, 30-year mortgage, it ain't going to be that you're going to have a job all that time.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
But
and so I tried to follow this rule before I bought a house, and
so
plus,
what you try to do is you try to save up so to where you almost have most of the money to be able to pay for the house.
right. But that money isn't just sitting there waiting to pay for the house. It's probably sitting in a retirement account or something like that,
okay.
being more useful.
So assets and stuff that could cover you.
Yeah.
Total.
So I hope I'm set as far as that goes. So I won't be living in a van down by the river.
So you think you are, though? You think you're set?
Well, pretty much. I need like another $10,000 actually if I wanted to pay off my house now. but it's still like close enough.
Well, of course, you wouldn't even have to. I mean, it wouldn't get to the point where you'd have to pay it off. It would just be like you'd have to keep making payments.
Right,
And
right. It just,
if you're there to where you're only 10,000 away, then you could probably make payments for years. Then, right?
right.
Okay.
So
Jerry's not going to lose his. Jerry's not going to be homeless, folks.
yeah,
Not today.
I'm not the homeless
Not tomorrow.
guy. I'm not homeless guy who's like following Tim around and
Yeah.
reaching out to him. That's not my. That's not my.
It's not your style.
That's not what I'm doing here.
Yeah.
But
What are you doing here?
what am I doing here in front of your video?
Well, in life.
That's another good question. What I could be doing something. I could go into something completely different as far as.
I'm not
career
saying
goes,
what
I
you're
guess.
doing is wrong. I'm just saying I think the viewers want to know what you're up to, Jerry. Besides this whole job bullshit, everybody's got a job or doesn't have a job, but that doesn't define us, does it?
Well, I think it does to most people. I think when people lose their job, they find out how much their job defines them.
That's true.
And they don't really know how much that part of their life matters until they lose that job. Because, I used to talk about how much I hate, all the crap that used to go on in my job, and I do think I'd be happy as hell to be out of there.
But isn't there a part of you that thought, okay, now that this has happened, I mean, I was working at a place that was bullshit or whatever ultimately, and you could kind of tell, I mean, they're in the way you described it to me, they're in kind of bad shape, and they're terrible people to work for, so I know you're never going to run into the fucking whatever, the totally great benevolent guy to work for or whatever, but didn't part of you think, at some point, well, this has happened, this sucks, but it probably will lead to working for better people, or do you just think your industry?
No, not really. I just
Okay.
figure I'm gonna just work for some other dumbass.
Some other
for a few more
dumbass.
years, and then I'll be laid off again.
Probably right, actually.
Because if you're like me and you've been working for more than a decade and you've changed employers 3 times, and each time you
see dumbasses.
it's not like I was ever fired or asked to leave. It was just the place is bullshit and I got out, or it's just the place laid off.
Right.
I mean, it's not really. But yeah, I can dream about like having this railroad job or something like that, where all your benefits are paid for, and your retirement is the best thing there is out there. If you got railroad retirement, that's like the best thing that you can get. You can try to get a job where you're more set than you are normally or something, but
right.
other than that, why worry about it? I guess it's more like I think we should more worry about why is American society so based on fear, and why are we so violent?
Why do we have so many?
We were just watching Bowling for Columbine.
Why do we bowl so much? That's the real question.
Why do we bowl at all?
Yeah.
What kind of dumbass game is that? It's not really fitness or anything, is it? It's like, do you actually get some kind of workout doing that, or?
Oh, it's a little bit. There's a little bit of exercise involved.
I guess there's some kind of skill involved, but
a little bit.
But I don't know if you can actually get any kind of workout from doing that.
Yeah, I just think it's one of those things where it's certainly not going to do anything for it's not going to help your heart out. If anything, it might hurt it because you're sort of straining, but you're not doing any consistent aerobic thing. But just if you want to, they say that stuff like housewives who do
like
little.
This would be a more consistent aerobic.
I
thing.
suppose. You do that like 20 times a day or something.
Does anybody know what the fuck you do with fitness ball?
Yeah, I don't know. Throw it up and down, that's good. Bounce it a little bit. Isn't it fun to bounce it? I'm actually just kicking around the room a little bit.
Well, I guess if you did this 500 times, then you'd start feeling it in your arms or whatever.
Yeah, and then you'd be a He-Man.
In that case, you think they make this thing to where it's instead of being a big air ball, it should be like a 30-pound ball or something like that. That would give you a workout.
Yeah, I think it's a scam, this fucking ball. Look at it. Look at it.
Fuck.
Looks like somebody
Fuck
just
these people. They're a scam.
Yeah, Fire Fitball USA. It looks like they just took the whole idea of the beach ball and just said, let's make it 10 times bigger and
And they probably charge you 10 times more for it than a regular beach ball.
I've seen Gary lay on it. I don't really know what it could do if you lay on it. That doesn't sound like it. I mean,
Like
I think the idea is you're supposed to roll around like with it though a little bit, like it, you know.
Like roll around on that with your back, you
Yeah.
destroy your back or something like that.
I don't know. I think it's supposed to help your back.
Oh really?
Yeah. Well, according to this thing, we got 0 minutes left, so
0 minutes left.
guess
What
it's
is that?
about.
The battery's going dead
Guess it's down to like the last 30 seconds or something.
already on the tape.
Yeah, we've done a half hour here, dude.
Fuck everybody!
Fuck everybody!
Is it done now?
No.
Well, the origin of fuck everybody was you got to watch Bowling for Columbine. That's
Yeah.
what it's about.
That's what it's all about.
Then you'll know what we're talking about.